haven't had a chance to meet before, but hopefully we're going to get a chance to know each other over the next 5 years. It is a great honor to have all of you here. We've got 25 states represented, the District of Columbia, Puerto Rico.
Yes.
It's a testament not only to the growth of the Hispanic community nationally, but to something that we've seen as we've been traveling across the country. Latinos are no longer just consolidated in a few states. You're everywhere, and making a difference in your communities and contributing in all sorts of ways, whether it's business and education and philanthropy, making a huge difference in strengthening America. And so to have this cross-section of people who know more than anything about how these policies are impacting the Latino community, I think is extraordinarily significant. I know that you guys have spent a lot of time today talking about a whole range of issues, so I'm not going to try to go step by step through each of them. The intention here was that we do a lot of stuff that has a big impact on your communities and what's happening at the ground level. But the linkages between what happens in Washington and what happens in New Mexico, or what happens in California, or what happens in New York may not always be apparent. The purpose here was to make sure that you knew in each department, in each agency, what are the steps we're trying to take to respond to the genuine needs that you see at the community level? What are the policies that we are shaping, and how do we make those policies? What we want to do is to make sure you understand that we are your partner on a day-to-day basis. I don't care what the issue is. And one of the things that I've always believed, and I know you believe strongly, is that there's not a monolithic Latino community and there's not a single Latino issue. These are issues that affect all Americans, and that means that the Small Business Administration needs to be thinking about small business, and that includes Latino small businesses. If we're talking about education, then it's not just, there's not some Latino education, Hispanic education over here, and the broader education agenda over there. If we're going to succeed as a country, then we've got to make sure that all the kids coming up are fully participating in our economy and have the skills they need to compete in an international economy. So the idea here is, number one, we want you to know exactly what we're doing and who's doing it, so that you start forming relationships, and you can now get on the phone and call people, and if there are programs that you think are working and you want to find out more about them, you're able to directly access the people who are in charge of them. The flip side is, we also want to learn, because what you do each and every day has an enormous impact, and you may be seeing things that we're doing that are working very well, and you may see some things that are not working so well. And we want to create that kind of continuous feedback loop to make sure that we're not taking for granted that just because we've got some good intentions, that somehow what we're doing is being effective. You know, obviously, and I happened to hear the last question that was asked. I may still let John answer it. But I think you are absolutely right that sometimes there's a big mismatch between what's being talked about here in Washington and what people are talking about at the local level. In Washington right now, we are in a very difficult set of negotiations around raising the debt limit. I want everybody to understand that this directly impacts you. If for the first time in history the United States defaulted on its obligations, that could send interest rates spiking, which would affect every single family that many of you work with, every policy issue that you're concerned about. We could end up tipping back into a serious recession. The financial markets could have a severe adverse reaction to us failing to put this forward. So in terms of just making sure that the economy doesn't go into free fall, we've got to get this solved. More broadly, all of us here, and I'm not making any assumptions. I suspect that there are a wide range of views about what's important to the Latino community in this group. But every one of you, I'm sure, believes that making investments in education, making investments in jobs, making investments in rebuilding our infrastructure, putting people back to work, that those are important. We're not going to be able to make those investments moving forward if we don't have our fiscal house in order, because all we'll be doing is every 3 months arguing about how we keep the doors of government open and how we're paying for our deficits and debt. So what I'm trying to do is to solve this problem in a big way so that for the next 4, 5, 10 years, we can stay focused on how are we going to make sure that everybody has opportunity in this society.